All right, welcome back. The Hustler Circle, 3 Minds, 1 Mission. We're on episode 13. We actually have another exciting guest, and you're going to see a continuous flow of existing clients that have gone through the program and are actually coming up on their first year exiting the program. We're joined today by a good friend of mine, Robert Cepero. We actually went to high school together, so we've known each other since many moons.
We won't put a number on it.
Yeah, we won't put a number on it, but we're seasoned like fine wine. Right. I'm hopefully not aging like curd cheese, but we're very excited about today's conversation. My boy Rob actually owns a thriving set of clinics with a business partner, and he reached out last year because part of our educational program is sharing content on socials, and Rob actually is going to talk a little bit about how he found out about the funding, learned a little bit from some of the content that Dee and I were posting, tried to do it himself, was successful with low limits, and then reached out, and then we were able to get him in a good spot, and how that's helped him and his business over the last 12 months. But I'm very excited to have you here.
Excited to be here.
No, awesome. And I'm really, really excited to just have folks learn from business owners. That's the number one goal in 2025, is have everybody who's watching this content either on socials or YouTube to learn from real business owners and the real struggle that it is to start your own business, bootstrap it from the ground up, but then also get access to capital and now kind of release a lot of that pressure that you have in the valve. So for those watching, if this is your first time, hit the subscribe and like button, but also in the comment section below and in the section of the video, you'll see links to Rob, his business. Give him a follow, give him a shout out, and I'm really excited for this conversation today. So I'm going to, start first with your journey, Rob, introduce yourself, what you do, what your business does, and then we'll jump a little bit into the business aspect, and then what the last years look
like.
Sure.
Okay? Like Chris said, my name is Robert Cepero. I am the owner of Life Aesthetics and Consulting Executive Organization, a consulting firm specializing in helping other med spas grow, scale, even start their practice. Both businesses started pretty much around the same time, only a couple months apart, about 2 years ago. So it's been quite a journey, let me tell you.
Well, that's awesome. And it's interesting because we had one of our first guests for the year. Actually, she does consulting for aesthetics, but also cosmetic surgeon offices, which is a very not a similar space, but very similar clientele profile and acquisition. Yeah. So it's cool to have a different perspective because you actually are a consultant and you also own a business that you're consulting for. So you get to see both sides, the efficiencies at scale and the ability to help the business kind of grow as well. So let's jump right into the thick of it. So Life Aesthetics, talk to me a little bit about why the aesthetic space, what's drawing you in there, and why has that been the focus for you right now?
So a funny story. I never ever in my wildest dreams thought I would be in the aesthetic industry. Athlete my whole life, sports oriented, just a guy's guy, never really into beauty or anything like that. But I kind of fell into the opportunity. It was maybe about 4 or 5 months before I was graduating with my master's program at UM in business. And one of my good friends, longtime friends, who owns a med spa, very successful one, he told me, he's like, "Hey, Rob, I need some help. I've gotten to a certain point." I think at that part he was probably making about $2 million a year generating. And he's like, "Man, I got here, but I don't even know how I got here. I don't know what the profit margins are. I don't know my balance sheet. I don't know what's going on. All I know, I'm making money, I'm spending it, but I really have no control of the business." So I decided, take the opportunity. It was kind of like my first dabble into an executive role. So he hired me as a COO, and really just completely, it was such a great experience. I signed a 1-year contract with him. And that was I guess my first consulting gig, So really just took the business from the inside out, really restructured it, added some new workflows, really created a great team to support that, and increased it threefold in the year and a half that I ended up being there. So it was a really great experience. On top of that, I really got exposed into the aesthetics, not just from the service standpoint, but also from the distribution and other aspects of the service line. So it really was like a crash course into the industry. And the more I got into it, the more I just saw opportunities from a business standpoint. I was just so enamored by like how, just by having even an inclination of business knowledge of just having your business acumen, it created such a big difference in this industry, which is led by medical professionals, nurses, doctors, things like that. So they're not business people at heart; they're service providers.
Yeah.
So there is huge gaps, and many med spas struggle because they just don't understand the business side of it. So I saw that as a huge opportunity for me, and that's when I finished the contract and decided to start consulting, executive organization at first. And then within 3 months, I had an opportunity to partner with somebody who I highly, highly respect. And I always told myself, if I'm ever going to start a med spa, it would be with this person. It was my partner, Jesse Cabrera. So when the opportunity came, we hit the ground running. And it's been, we haven't looked back since. So.
It's a funny thing because D probably is smiling for the same reason. So like I've been in the big corporate business, chief customer officer for a couple Fortune 500 and publicly traded companies. And when I left those roles, the first person I reached out to was Dimitri. And I was like, I'm not lying to you. And if I'm lying, he'll tell you straight up because we're both straight shooters. For like 12 years, he was like, bro, come to start a business together. Let's start a business together. I'm like, I'm scaling on my own career. I want to see this through a certain level. And my goal was I make it to C-level. I see what it is, what the life is like. Does it actually diminish the stress levels that I have managing thousands of people across the globe and stuff. And then when I got there, I did it, I succeeded. And then I was like, I need to do my own thing because I'm sick of making other people money. Yeah. I sat on private jets that my CEO had and he had bought cash. And I'm here like, I'm still flying economy with my family. I'm like, what am I not doing? And the difference was he was an entrepreneur. Yep. And I had never taken that risk. And D's been a successful entrepreneur. So like we both have a very similar path to like starting our own thing. And it all started with the only person I would join forces with was someone that I trusted. I said like, if I'm ever going to do this, I'm going to do it with someone that I trust and that I know will have my back, but they'll also challenge me.
And somebody who shares the same moral compass that you have.
Yeah.
That's so important. It's, just like a relationship, a business partner is somebody you're going in bed with in the sense that you're going to have to, just like when you move in with somebody, you're like, oh, shoot, you leave your toothpaste out. Okay, that's different. You start learning things and you have to really make sure that you are choosing somebody to go in business with that matches who you are as a person, your moral code, your moral compass and things like that. Because when it comes to money, business decisions, it's nothing can separate any relationship quicker than money. So you have to really make sure that you guys are on the same page.
Agreed, 100%. He's speaking exactly the same language that he's like if you had to add anything, he already added it.
There's nothing. I mean, bro, the thing is, I'm a little bit younger than you guys, but I've typically have had my own businesses my whole life, and there's a part too, something you touched on where like I've heard a lot of the older people in my life that I've come across that are business owners. They would talk about frequently like, oh, well, is the person that you're in that you have a business with, the people you're dealing with, are they like, what are their habits outside of work? Are they going out? Are they partying? And then it's like, I would think of what does that matter? Like if they're getting their fucking job, then what does that matter? And now I understand why it matters because everything is interconnected. Your personal habits, whether you're a family man, whether you're not, the type of moral compass you have, the common denominators. And I think that from that position, it's all of those little things on the relationship side, they matter and they create the desired outcome of making the millions or whatever it is. But it's like putting yourself out there is obviously the first thing and taking that risk because it's like, it's a risk. And like when Chris hit me up, it made sense also at that time, which is another crucial thing. Like timing and circumstance is a huge thing in business or in relationships because maybe I'm ready for a relationship right now with someone, but then they're not on a personal or business capacity. So that matters. The historical data matters. And then, if is what I'm pushing the service, am I riding the wave right now? Or was that 6 months ago? And then for what you do specifically, like if you're thriving and you're doing it in Miami, which is a very saturated market, when I was hearing you speak, I'm like, damn, well, what if he did this in like the smaller area spaces of like Florida and then take over? Because as an example, yesterday we had an attorney sitting right where you're at and he had one office last year. We got him funded. I think it was like $500,000 total. And now he has like 3 or 4. And he's like talking about getting his license in every state and nationwide, and like nobody's gonna stop him. Like no one's gonna stop this guy. So it's like
The lid's been taken off, and he's
so like
Yeah.
people will see him here, but then they don't. It's very hard unless you've done here and you've really put yourself out there. Like when Chris hit me up, like I told him like, yeah, we're gonna figure it out. I didn't really have the actual roadmap, but what does it even matter if everything has to start with the energy anyway? So it's like, yes, we're blessed now, and like the other thing that's funny too is like when we were starting with you, like we had just began our funding company as well. So like we were still learning things as well, and then the same way that you're probably sitting back and saying, damn, well, look where I'm at right now versus a year ago. Like I'm even looking at the dynamics of you as a client versus how we would manage you in year 2 versus year 1 with all the things that we know and understand and the positives and the negatives. So it's a pretty cool full circle moment to see our clients that have gone funding with us and like their struggles share common denominators with our struggles. So it's cool to have like-minded individuals and like really share that type of energy with each other.
definitely.
Yeah, and I think so. Let's just go back to like how we met, from a business engagement perspective.
Sure.
Because I already, we've been together for longer than podcasts ever existed. So, so from a perspective of like, you obviously started watching our content on Instagram, and we give a lot of good nuggets. And for anybody watching, like the goal is we don't like to keep stuff inside, but D kind of says this really well all the time. Dimitri, if you know him, is not the person who's going to change, the oil in his own car. Why? Because there's better use for his time, and he'd rather go to an expert so that the car doesn't have an issue in the long run because he did it, but he didn't do it the right way.
Yeah.
Right. And the same way you go to an expert for that, you go to an expert for medicine, you go to an expert for a med spa, you go to an expert for an attorney. We are, I would say, quote unquote, the expert for business funding. Why? Because we couple the credit repair component, which Dimitri has mastered. Has a business with over 1,000 verified 5-star reviews on Google. You can't make those up.
Yep.
And you know this because if you send somebody a Google review link and they go and click on that link and review, that review will never make it to your review because it has to be organic.
Yeah.
And he's got over 1,000 organic 5-star reviews, and those two things combined create a really good synergy. So you watched some of this content and you said, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try what Chris is saying, and I'm gonna go and apply. And you applied for Chase, and I think you got something like $8,000 or $10,000.
Yeah, it was probably like 10,000.
Yeah. And
I was happy. I was like, oh shit,
you were
10,000 credit
excited,
cards,
but then you
0%
reached out.
interest.
You reached out to me, and I was like, "Oh, let me see. Let's get to see what you have." And I was like, "Brother, with your profile, we can do a lot of damage." Yeah. And fast forward, we got you the funding. The first card you went to my bankers at Chase. First card was like 30-something thousand, which just already shows you that just coming to us, it's already 3x the amount that you got. So tell me a little bit about like what your experience was like, working with us.
So like you said, we've known each other a very long time.
Yeah.
We followed each other on social media, and probably I would say it was maybe 7-8 months into me owning a business. I've been following you for a while, listening to your nuggets, liking, and then one time you put on a post about the Chase credit card, the Inc. Unlimited, I think it was.
Yeah.
So let me apply for it. Applied for it, got approved for the 10K, ecstatic. Then there was another card, I can't remember. I think it was
US Bank.
US Bank, exactly.
Yeah.
Applied, got denied. I was like, oh crap, okay. So then I was like, let me just reach out to Chris. Let me holler at him real quick and let me see what I'm doing wrong or what he can do. So, it was a night and day experience between trying to do it myself and, like you said, having an expert, which I would definitely consider you guys experts in the business financing section, kind of walking you through the whole process. It became, something that is an unknown territory for business owners looking for financing. Who in their life has ever tried to apply for a loan or apply for finance? It's a new experience. So having somebody on your corner, pretty much just guiding you exactly every step of what to expect, not only lowered the stress for me, but just made it a transactional experience where it was just like show up, and just step 1, 2, 3, and then there you go, and the results spoke for themselves.
And look, and we try to preach to anybody who's looking to start their own business, doesn't matter what it is, that the client experience is at the core of everything we do. And you know this from a consulting, because I'm like, you live and die by that experience and what the reciprocal output is, right? Mm-hmm. Do they see ROI? but sometimes the ROI is not felt. You get me? Because it's an undercurrent in like the processes, which you know this, D knows this, because I work till late and I'm fixing like system stuff. And I'm like, it's not sexy. Like, you know, like creating an automation that removes 5 minutes of his day 50 times a day.
Yeah.
Like he'll feel it in a month. He'll be like, fuck, I'm doing more work because I'm not doing this little tedious thing. And my job here is obviously doing the funding, doing all that stuff, but it's also the operations, right? And I'm like, I do the finances, I do the operations, I do the automation, I do all the systems. I built the platform myself in partnership with D, but I'm listening to like the areas that him, Esther, and all the other team members are frustrated with, because if they're bogged with something, if I find time at night, at 1 a.m, on the weekends, I'll do it because we're on the same team.
Yeah.
The same way, like I give that 3 hours of energy, he gives it when I'm not, like I don't see him.
Well, I think that's one of the key things for an entrepreneur is understanding and recognizing that it is a never-ending process of improvement. You know, you never have the perfect work. You know, every workflow is there's always something you can do better. There's always something you can add to make it more efficient. So just being mindful of that and always being aware, okay, how can I be improving, you know, D's job today? Or, you know, I see him struggling with something. Let me find some solutions to that. That is, you know, that makes or breaks a lot of businesses.
And I think also like, so you got, you know, access to the capital, and you fast forward now, like in the time frame that we got you funded, we now do SBA loans.
Nice.
We now do, you know, and the different styles. We do SBA loans up to 2 million. We do SBA loans up to, in fast SBA 7As up to 150K. Turnaround time is 14 days. Like we are in it now. Like, and our goal is expand the services because every business is different. Not like we have clients who are just starting. They can't get an SBA. They need 2 years of tax returns on the business side. Yeah. Their financials have to be in a certain level. But you'd be surprised. I'm like, the SBA hands out good amount of money to respectable businesses that are filing their taxes, have profit and loss and balance sheets. And now we've gotten that into a workflow and we're building the process. And remember, a lot of this is how do we create the most efficiency at scale and then create the relationships at the bank, which is the hardest part. Mm-hmm. You don't have direct contact with the underwriter, but you have direct contact with the person who talks to the underwriter and they understand the alien language that they speak in. Yeah. Like there's things like E-Trans, which we've learned over the last 90 days, which I'm like, if you Google E-Trans score, legitimately, everybody will tell you a different answer. It's a combination of your personal scoring model, your FICO, et cetera, on top of like your business scoring model, but then also it takes into account cash or it doesn't. For you, it'll be like your credit cards, and for this other person, it's a business loan. And I'm like, what? I'm like, and they do it purposely vague like that because they want to ensure that no one kind of games the system. Yeah. But if you understand at least the criteria they're looking for, you're in the money zone, right? And we've gotten that now to perfection from that perspective. So those are kind of like how we continue to expand. Mm-hmm. Now, you got the funding. Like, tell me a little bit about like how that's helped your business now kind of scale to where it's at today.
So the whole reason I started looking for funding in the first place was because when I started the company, Life Aesthetics, I didn't have any investors. I had two credit cards that I used to start the business, personal credit cards, and you know, just was just going to go all in. So thankfully, the business has been able to grow on its own 2 feet and really just kind of grow organically from within. But that's a process that takes time, you know, and you guys know in business, time is money. So sometimes there's opportunities that pop up or you just already have built a certain momentum that you really just have to capitalize on. And it takes money to do that. So really when I started looking for capital was for that reason, to be able to just invest the money into the business so it can grow at a quicker rate, or at least at a rate where it's matching the demand that we're growing at. So really just, and it came down to cash flow. You know, really was a cash flow. Like I said, the business was able to support itself, which is great, but it wasn't at a point where I can have extra funding to go ahead and invest back into the business to, you know, even build out the office, decorate it, invest in new equipment, things like that. So hire new employees. So really finding that funding helped with my cash flow tremendously.
Yeah, and I think in a lot of the aesthetic stuff, and D, you can like kind of jump in here because you have a lot of clients in this space too, is there's a lot of content that needs to be pumped out because I feel like the differentiator is like the connection that a potential client has with, you know, the esthetician or the person specifically who's moving the product, that you're partnering with other brands as well to promote like injections and stuff like that. like a lot of that is breaking down the barrier of like the trust factor, right? And I'm like, it's hard to do that in like a call, like, hey, I want to understand what your services are. It's like, actually look at our page, do all this stuff. And it's like a I would say a reverse funnel where everybody comes out, but they start with content. And I'm like, we're kind of in the same place because like people, finance, number one, is the hardest place to kind of break into because the trust, the wall is a brick wall. And like the door is like the size of like a mouse, right? Like, and then like they peek a little bit, like, I'm not gonna do that right now. And D's mastered the ability to kind of like not remove the wall, but the wall's still there, but he's on the other side, like peeking out and saying, hey, I'm here. So like, how have you like tried to like master that kind of space? 'Cause it's so competitive, but content is like one of those areas where I look at your socials and I'm like, you guys do really cool, like natural, engaging content, like not all promotions and stuff like that.
It can't be all promotion. You know, social media is a huge marketing tool for aesthetics, but more, you know, on a bigger scale, on cash-based medical practices. You know, that includes the plastic surgeries, wellness centers, things like that. Like you said, to really build trust in your potential patients, you have to educate them. You have to show them your credibility. And yeah, it's great to do it. You know, there's multiple ways you can do it. You could do it through an informational post. You can do it through some educational, through some funny TikToks is good too. You know, I'm not one to believe that you have to dance on Instagram or TikTok to get leads, but it does show character. And I do think there's a certain space for it, you know, up to a certain degree. You know, I have to be tasteful about it, of course. But, you know, just using Instagram as a tool to really just get our brand out there is really how we've grown the business. And then utilizing that momentum and then really focusing on internal marketing has been everything. Now, when I say internal marketing, what does that mean? That is not the Google AdWords spending that you're doing. It's not the social media ads. This is utilizing your own client base and really maximizing it through a referral program, a loyalty program. I've created something in the industry that I'm gonna speak in a couple months at a business summit that really no med spa is doing, and that's a brand ambassador program where now I have my own clients really just promoting the business. You know, the whole saying, when you're good, you say you're good, but when you're great, other people say you're great. Yeah. So that was like kind of the whole concept of that, and just really utilizing our patients, getting them excited, incentivizing them to really just, you know, repost our stories or throw in their own stories. We would give them, you know, samples of products, let them try it out. They would, you know, do it as
they create their own content and be your megaphone.
Exactly. They create their own content. And now that's, you know, so that has really helped us a lot, just grow from the inside out. So
when are we signing you as a brand ambassador?
Yeah.
Do you anything to add to that?
No, I mean, bro, you get it, bro. You're one of us. You get it. You know what it's like. And the thing is, like, I was thinking about when you were at the point of getting the funding or not. I understand, because it's like, all right, let's say you close a $15,000 consulting agreement. Cool, right? Like, you still have to maintain the aesthetics within your aesthetic business in terms of what people are seeing. So, like, let's say this podcast right now, right? Like, we're just sitting here shooting the shit, but then when this is done, Rico has to upload it. Sam has to go ahead and watch the videos for probably, he does like 2 hours. He watches 2 renditions. Then they cut the shorts. Then we send it to an editor to do some transitions if we're going to deem this one worthy. Then we got to upload it to YouTube. Then they got to upload it to Spotify. And that's just all that I'm aware of. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more in between. But within all that, then it's like, as an entrepreneur, okay, that costs X, Y, and Z. What are my distributions? Mm-hmm. And then it's like, as an entrepreneur, then you're at a fork in the road. Do I cut myself a check or do I put the money back in? Yeah. But the cool thing with the funding is you're getting, let's say, $100,000, $200,000 in just, and that's as if you're a brand new business owner, mm-hmm. in just 0% interest credit cards. Yeah. Or if you've been in business 2 years and you have tax returns, now what are we doing for you? Mm-hmm. BLOCs, business lines of credit, SBA loans. And now you're in a position where you have the $200,000 in credit cards for 0% for 12 months, 3 different BLOCs for $30K, and 1 SBA loan for $200K. Yeah. And now you don't have to worry about cutting yourself a distribution. Exactly. And now you don't have to be on a mission and worry about whether to go left or go right. Mm-hmm. The only difference was getting your phone and picking up and calling one of us. And that's all it is. The same way that you've probably seen many business owners in your area space, because they've met you, they've been able to go left instead of having to go right. So the education and the understanding, even with the applications, right? Like, let's say you're pulling in all this money. If your business name, as an example, is like Funding, whatever, like our company name is Funding Supreme. I would never, ever, ever apply for any bank with the word funding supreme on it. Like, why would the bank give me money to give someone else? Like, if you want to use the vernacular high risk, that's literally what that is high risk. So it's like understanding the petty things that like normal people don't have the time to. That's what you're doing. That's what we're doing. And that's when things start coming together and you're in a position where it's like, now you're talking at business summits about new types of ambassador programs, this and that and there, because now you're able to reach new scales because you don't have the psychological stress that your 100K is out there. You're using what? OPM, other people's money in the true dynamics. And if you're able to outperform the interest rates, the 0% for the 12 months or the 15 months or the 18 months, now you are extremely profitable because if you're a healthy business owner and you're operating at 50% margins, now you don't have to worry that much about spillage or employees not coming in or chargebacks because you're not taking your own hard-earned cash and wondering when you're going to be paying yourself back. So all those things come together. And when you're speaking, I'm like, bro, this is what I'm thinking about. This is what I'm thinking about. And it's cool to see you scale while also understanding from a zoomed out perspective, like, okay, this is how things work as well.
I think that's the secret to business too, is really always having a plan, right? Never looking at it, just a narrow vision, taking a step back, like you just said, seeing it from a grander scale and seeing how this decision is going to affect you a year from now, 2 years from now. You know, a lot of people make decisions in business, unfortunately, through emotions. And that's, I'm yet to see an emotional decision be made that it was like, oh, that was the greatest decision you made. You know, it's usually the wrong choice when emotions are involved. So how do you avoid that? Is putting together a plan, sticking to it. Yes, it's not everything goes as planned, but at least you can always recalibrate it a little bit, adjust it, and then, and make sure you're heading in the right direction.
I agree. And I think, the component that we see a lot of clients have success in is having a plan of what they're going to utilize those funds for, which you already had. And I'm like, but for every one of you, there's 6 that don't. So, and we actually turn a lot of those clients away, not because we don't believe in them or anything like that, but if you have no use for the funds, like, I don't want to put you in a risk position, because what ends up happening is that, number one, they don't use it, which is the worst thing you can do on the business side. On the personal side, dude, I've had cards for 20 years that have had limits that, like, my first card was a Discover card after my Macy. At that time it was Bernines.
Aged.
Yeah. And that was my first, Bernines was my first card. Then they got bought by Macy's. It turned into a Macy's card. It was like $750 like limit. My first real credit card, not through a store, was Discover. My starting credit was $3,000. And it eventually got to like $10K, but I'm like, I've literally used this card. I can count with my hands how many times I've used this card, probably like 11 times in my whole life. In like since 2004, 21 years, that card's been on my profile. And I think the highest, you can see the highest balance ever was like $600. But they've never canceled it. Why? Because I use like $50 a month for the history. Right. And the reason why I mentioned that is because on the personal side, you can leave credit cards unused forever. Sometimes if you have bad credit, they'll cancel it because of non-use. But on the business side, you don't use it, they'll cancel it in like 6 months. Like from opening. They're like, oh, you don't use this. I see you have no transactions. Why did I just extend you $40,000? Like, and on the bit, that's the mindset.
The dynamics
the bank
are
wants to
different.
make money.
Yeah, the dynamics are different from a personal and a business card. The business card, you want to use them like literally as much as possible without. I'm definitely not gonna drop your names. We never do that, but we did funding for someone that was in a very tough position. This person had like $23,000 in personal debt. We got him out of that hole. Set him up for a funding because he had a show coming up. The funds were going to be used from the business funding for his show. We were like at 50, 60K at this point. So 20K with one bank. Personal debt has already been taken care of. His score is already at 780 or above. He has access to 50, 60K. So like, we're good. We're super happy with the progression. We're going to do another 50, whatever. Calls us the next day. Hey, my account got shut down. Okay, well, so we go with our BRMs. We say, okay, what happened? Oh, he tried his first purchase to buy, it was a $30,000 limit credit card. He tried buying a $29,700 watch. And it's just like, bro, like, you cannot be at that point where you give me the excuse you didn't know. And the reason why is because you asked me every other question leading up to this. And I gave you answers within, our response time, our efficiency. I gave you all those answers. So it's like, you were cool with us helping you get out of the debt. You were cool helping us getting the funding. But like, if you would have just asked, hey, do you guys think it would be a good idea to make my first swipe on a $30,000 maxed out credit card? You know, I would have given you the answer that it should have been. But then now you got the account closed, and it's just like that type of engagement, going back to what he says, like that already kind of put us in a position where it's like, man, you know what? Just you go your way, we'll go ours. And it's
the right fit.
It's important to have those moments as a seed of opportunity to grow and like understand like really clients positioning and the type of visibility and transparency that we need to have with the clients. Like, so now moving forward, I tell clients, hey, don't do anything crazy with the cards. Yeah. Let me know your first purchases, because if not, I'm going to end up doing the same thing again, which is now, because we didn't mention it, this happened. So now I'm going to mention it. So now I'm going to make sure that we safeguard ourselves so that we're not, because now we also lost the commission. Yeah. And then it's like, we're going to do it again. What? He'll probably shit the bed again. Mm-hmm. So it's important to have, even when it's a shitty situation where like we don't make money as entrepreneurs, where we see a glass half full. Yeah. Like, what is the positive of this? And now it's just, when we see those red flags, hey man, that's it. You know, well, the buck stops here. So it's important to also have that responsibility with our time with clients, because if not, I'm sure you've had clients probably try to like just squeeze you for as much time as possible to no avail. Yeah. And it's like you get home and you're like, coño, man, like I spent 3-4 hours with this person today, and it's like I don't have a commission, I don't have a retainer signed, I don't have an agreement signed, and it's like, damn. Now there are certain times where like I will, for whatever reason, I might not have a retainer or an operating agreement. I will spend time with them because I can feel what's going to happen at the end. Yeah. And sometimes I'm right and sometimes I'm wrong, but there has to be risks within to keep our entrepreneurial spirit alive. You have to risk the time with the client too. It's all, nothing's 100% unless that invoice is paid. So, you know, there's always those type of, you know, micro dynamics within the whole machine that we're operating.
Definitely. And I think it's really about managing their expectations as well. You know, like you just said, the fact that you learned the lesson of, all right, I'm going to have to be more clear on what you have to spend. You didn't even think of that the first time. That was part of a growing pain, a lesson that you had to learn. It cost you, like you said, a commission or even a client, but it's a lesson that, you know, you're not going to repeat again. So, and that's the same thing in aesthetics. You know, when we have patients, it's really managing their expectations. They want to come in, they want to look a certain way they saw on a picture or on a filter, but really it's just bringing them down to reality and be like, okay, this is what you can expect through this process. And we find when we do that, you know, the patients are happy. They know exactly what they're going to expect. They know how long it's going to take. So, you know, really just kind of setting out that plan with your patients or your clients really makes a big difference.
And I think, and it's tough because in South Florida, everybody wants everything like this, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to make fast money. In the aesthetics, everybody wants to look a certain way quick, and they don't realize that, yes, coming to your facility is step one, and that there's multiple progresses to that step. But then what they do at home also has an impact after they've gotten whatever services is part of it. It's the same thing like when you're trying to get in shape and all that stuff. Yes, you can go to the gym every day. That doesn't mean you're going to be in shape, because you can go home and stuff your face in like 2 Big Macs, a bunch of fries, and then you're going to the gym every day, and you're kind of counteracting and counterbalancing, you know, the good and the bad.
You're just chasing your tail.
Exactly. So like, I feel like that's a component that, you know, we have learned the most, at least through operating. We have clients throughout the country, and when we have clients in South Florida, like our processes are very specific, because here everybody has some story. Like, and we listen to everything, but I'm like, when it's business and it's financials, the dollars don't lie and the statements don't lie. And I know how to read statements, and I know when something doesn't look right. Like, you know, we have a client who's going seeking to get an SBA. I mean, he has no personal income. But then he has non-ordinary income passively coming through the business, but it's being reported as income loss. And then the depreciation is what he's paying himself off of. I'm like, bro, this looks so weird that when I sent it to the underwriter, I already knew they were going to be like, what the hell is this? And they come back to me and say, he has no income. I'm like, well, he's paying income taxes on this line item that's like deep down in the K1 and all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, but it's not real income though. Like, ultimately, the components that there's no income coming in. I'm here, like in my head, I'm like, I know this, but I'm like, why did I even try it? Because I also have to have the client learn through that experience. of like, sometimes you can't get everything you want. And I feel like that happens more here in South Florida than it does anywhere else.
I wonder why that is. We're such a bubble compared to the rest of the country, and just a mindset, and we see it across the board. It's that instant gratification, that rat race, that one thing's now. I want to be, do this, and then tomorrow I'll be right back out on the beach or do something. So
which is crazy.
It is. It really is. It's interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so that we'll shift to the second to last, kind of topic, which is for aspiring entrepreneurs and business owners. Like, tell me a little bit about like, if someone's watching this and they're looking to start their own business, maybe an esthetician business, et cetera, like, there's a lot of uncertainty always in starting your own business, but what's the number one advice you would give somebody who's looking to like start their own thing? Besides remove the money component, it's just like specific advice from a business owner.
Step one, write a business plan. It's not real until you write it down. As you write it down, it's incredible just going through that process, how it evolves from even when the first time you write your first word on that business plan. By the end of it, it's almost a different business completely because you've really thought about it. You've thought about every different situation that can happen. So writing a business plan is number one. I've had clients tell me, I just started and I don't know what's going on. Of course, because you have no plan. You're just throwing something in the dark and hoping it sticks. So write it down, put it together, run it through, friends, families, let them pick holes in it and really just, pick it apart and make sure that it is a solid business plan. That would be step one.
No, that's great. And, I know scaling, customer acquisition is another component. Like customers who are looking to scale, like, as far as like the business plan is one piece, and then turning that business plan into reality is a secondary piece. When they're looking at scaling, what are your thoughts or perspectives on like what trigger point do they go to like starting and then, all right, this is not working, it's time to scale? Like, what do you usually use in your framework to like figure out like it's time to hit the gas pedal? Like you made that decision knowing that you started this life aesthetics business, and then at some point you're like, no, the revenue is self-sustaining, but if I inject 30, 40, 50K, like what was that moment like in your mind? Was it conversations with other business owners? Was it vendors that you were having conversation with? They say, look, if you put 10K, you can make 20. Like what was that perspective?
So it's interesting because you use the word scaling, and I feel I come across a lot of clients who misuse that word a lot. Yeah. They want to scale from day one, and I'm like, no, you grow first.
Yeah.
Growth is like a linear path. You're getting more patients, you're getting more clients, and you can only get so much, right? Because you have only so much time. So that's growth. Scaling is once you go beyond your capacity of what you can offer as time. That's when you start making money outside of your time. And once you can start making that disconnect, now you're in a mode of where you're scaling. You're really like getting now into exponential growth. So just understanding that is very important. But to answer your question, when was that moment? I think it's different for everybody, and I think it's kind of a case by case. You kind of feel and when you're like, okay, I've reached the point, I need to get to this level. How do I get there? And if I can't do it by just getting more patients in here, or I need to expand, and then that's where the funding comes in.
Got it.
That's really what it was for me. I got to a plateau and I needed to get to that level. I couldn't get there without extra funding. That was the decision to be made.
No, that's awesome feedback and a good perspective, and hopefully folks will take that into account. Yeah. All right, so we usually end with a rapid fire hustle round. Nice. I'm just gonna shoot a couple of questions to you, and if you're game to answer them very quickly, it helps give different perspectives from different guests that we have. So the first is, what's your go-to productivity hack?
Go-to productivity hack. This is actually a new one. So I discovered this app maybe 4 months ago, and it's called the Motion app. It's an AI calendar. I can't tell you how that has changed my life pretty much as far as a business owner. I used to find myself spending 15, 20, 30 minutes at a time just sitting there and just thinking, what do I have to do next? What is priority number one? And you just find yourself going through all the things that are in your head. And if you're an entrepreneur, you can definitely understand how much is in there. I think only entrepreneurs can really relate to that. People really don't understand. Yeah. It's 24/7. Your mind, even when you're in your bed, you're thinking, all the time. But I found myself just exhausted by just thinking about all the things I had to do. And there was days that I would just, you know what, I'll do it tomorrow. I spend an hour trying to think about what I'm going to do next. I'm tired already. I'm just going to start early and get it done. So that's like the opposite of productivity, right? So then adding this app has really it's been a game changer. I no longer have to think what I have to do next. I literally just, every morning, I've made it a ritual, a brain dump, all my tasks, everything that has to be done. It puts it in a organized fashion for me based on priority or when the due dates are. And now I just go there, like, what do I got to do next? Boom. Click
What's
on
it called again?
Motion app.
Motion app.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Cool.
it's been awesome. And now I've got it to where I have my team. I got the, I had the free version. Now I got the premium version, which I can have now 4 or 5 users, I think it is. And now I have them doing that. And that has completely streamlined the task. Cause I mean, there's thousands of things to do at a time. And, I can say, hey, let's do these 10 things. Nice. We do maybe 2 of them. Then there's 10 new things that come up. And I never did those old 8 and they're still pending there. And then they just kind of just start building up. So this has been a great way for us as a team to just organize all our thoughts, all the tasks that need to be done, and just stay focused. So
no, it's pretty dope. Yeah, and I've also seen it a lot. And I'm like, I have it flagged on my things. And I'm like, my problem is that like I used to.
Now that I say it, you're gonna see it on your Instagram come up. Now.
No, it's been on there forever.
Ad.
I'm like, I've tried it. I'm like, I'm an app whore, I guess, when it comes to those things. Like, trying to build a lot of automation through AI. So that's pretty cool.
No, my VA right now is probably watching this, and he's going into Motion app on Instagram and blocking them so he doesn't lose his job.
Awesome.
All right. So what's one business book or resource that's changed the game for you?
One book?
Yeah. I know there are a lot, but
yeah, there's many. I'm gonna go by one of the most recent ones I just read. Most recent, probably like 6 months ago. It's called Unreasonable Hospitality. I believe the author's name is Will Guidara. It has been a game changer as far as really getting into the mindset of who you're serving and offering a patient experience. It's providing hospitality at an unreasonable level, or what seems unreasonable, but that is what makes the difference between a patient, coming back or just going to the next med spa down the street. Is they feel comfortable. They know exactly what they're going to expect. And I mean, it takes it down to the level of what does your office look like? What does it smell like when they walk in? What's their first impression from the moment they walk in throughout the whole entire process till they leave, even beyond? What is the follow-up like? So it's really just kind of had me just pick apart exactly the patient experience and optimize it in a way that I didn't look at before.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. So what's one of the biggest lessons you learned in 2024?
Biggest lessons I've learned in 2024. 2024 was year 1 of business, and I don't know if it's now because I'm just entering into my 40s, but I would say your physical health is probably one of the most important aspects of entrepreneur's life. It's very easy to get caught in the rat race. I'm hustling, I'm grinding, I'm on the computer 15 to 18 hours a day. You're not eating, you're not sleeping well, you're not exercising. And what happens is you really start to run out of gas really quick, especially as you get older. Yeah. So really taking care, putting time into your schedule to take care of your physical self, even if it's just going outside, walking, anything. It could just be anything to take your mind off and make sure you're taking care of your physical self. That way you can then have the energy that is required to run a business, let alone 2.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. And I agree. If you could go back, what's one thing you'd do differently in your business besides, coming to me first before trying it yourself?
That would have been my answer. It would have definitely been just not waiting so long to talk to you, starting from the beginning. Because just, like I said, having those funding, those 0% interest credit cards and utilizing it to maximize my cash flow and just kind of operate in a better way has been everything. But besides that, if I can go back 2024, it's funny because I just had like a reflection. I like to sit back and kind of reflect on the year and see what I did and what I can improve on. And one of the things that I found was controlling my inventory better. Especially in the aesthetics, you're going to have a lot of reps. Hey, you got to buy 30, syringes to get this deal. And they focus on the price point, but yet what they don't tell you is that you have to pay for this product and before you even sell it. So you're pretty much having to come out of pocket to buy the product before, and sometimes there's 90-day terms and things like that. But at least in my situation is just really looking back and be like, okay, how much of this product do I sell in 90 days? That's all I'm buying. I don't care about whatever promos are happening. I'm operating within the confines of what my business is currently operating. Eventually I will grow into those bigger, orders that will get me the better price points and things like that. So really not getting too excited and focusing on the price point, but just focusing on what you can handle as a business.
That's interesting. And I know it's supposed to be short, but like those products also have shelf life too. So like it creates an even crazier like dynamic. Cause I'm like, if it was a product that just sat in a warehouse and you can have it for 12 months, all these things they're medicinal. So like they have certain shelf lives, especially the organic materials in them.
That was actually one of my first hard lessons that I learned. It was the first product that I bought from the business. We opened the business. I was like, all right, I'm not going to say the names, but I got to get this product. I ended up buying like 24 boxes of it because, you know, at my old practice, we were selling them like hotcakes. So it was just going to, you know, I already knew these things can sell. I probably got stuck with like 14 of them that expired on me. And that was 14 boxes of expired product. That was, you know, that was a hard hit to
How much money did you lose?
Let's say it was about $250 per box. So, you know, at least $3,000, $4,000.
Oh, it sucks.
And
In the beginning.
Yeah, it sucks.
And in the beginning, that's a hit, you know, and you're like, crap, you know, all right, learn that lesson. So,
Yeah.
you know,
It's different training to get in the ring versus getting in the ring.
absolutely.
When you're in the ring, it's different. Now you're gonna see who your boys are, who your people are, who are the ones promoting you, who are the ones showing up, who are referencing their people to come to your business, and then, you know, then you're gonna see also the hardships with the inventory as well. Like, bro, we literally bought almost $100,000 in exotic candies a year and a half ago. We lost our asses.
Yeah.
Because we thought we knew what we were doing, and we didn't really know, and you know,
learned.
Another lesson learned.
There you go.
So.
And then the last question, it'll be a fun one just to kind of get this wrapped up, is what's the best way or thing you do to recharge after a long week? It could be anything.
Great question.
Gaming, playing sports, whatever.
So it's spending time with family. I have a beautiful family. I have a wife, a 16-year-old daughter, and now we just have a 1-year-old son. So just really taking every opportunity I can on the weekends or when I can to just spend time with them, just real time, quality time. Not time that I'm there present, but then on my phone working, just putting everything aside and really just kind of enjoying my family is what I've found that really just recharges my battery and gets me ready. And if I really want to get kind of like just lost in my own mind and just disconnect, video games.
Yeah.
I'm a big gamer.
us.
What game do you play?
Right now I'm playing Marvel Rivals. I'm hooked.
Yeah, you left Call of Duty.
I don't play Call of Duty. This is probably my first shooter that I've really played. I like RPGs a lot, but Marvel Rivals, I'm a big, you know, geek when it comes to Marvel.
Yeah, I'm a Call of Duty guy.
Comic books my whole life, so
Yeah, he's a FIFA lord.
I like FIFA.
oh yeah.
Yeah, I love it. My favorite.
Like unreal good in FIFA. But
Everybody makes that claim, don't they? Very few
No,
people
no,
live
but
up to
that-
that.
But trust me,
He's that guy.
I like so much so that I
Yeah.
I literally watch him play. That's how good he is.
Yeah.
Like he'll share
Yeah.
his stream, and you're like, I tell him all the time, like he should just start streaming himself because he's very, very good.
Nice. Who's
Like-
your team?
So I play Ultimate Team.
Okay.
So
you built a-
yeah, you can build, and like I drop a lot of money in that game, like a lot. Like it's sometimes it's unhealthy, but I really enjoy playing that game.
I mean, every man has a vice, right? And,
Yeah,
you know,
like, and
this is-
honestly,
I'd
like,
rather be a video game than
Yeah.
like a strip club or something.
Exactly.
yeah, like I'm not doing the strip clubs. I'm not a cokehead. I'm not like I'm a nerd. I like doing nerd shit. Like I like playing FIFA. I've been playing it since 2010 South Africa, and I really enjoy it. And like so much so, I taught my brother how to play it like 2-3 years ago. He whooped my ass last night.
Yeah, he beat him.
for the first time ever. And it's funny that gets brought up.
Student beats the master.
Yeah,
Well,
he
wait,
beat me
but
last
back to
night.
the master.
But the crazy part is I was watching his stream and then his brother's like, oh, I'm gonna join a thing to see like if I get matched with someone. And the game starts and D starts laughing.
It's so
and
I
I'm
knew it was
sitting
him.
there-
randomly match with
And
your
my
brother.
brother's my neighbor.
Yeah.
Like he has the townhouse next to me. The door right next to me is my brother. So like he's watching. I'm on the headset with my brother. He's on the headset too. And I already know it's my brother because I see his layout of his stadium.
Yeah.
And he's just so cooked, he doesn't know it's me.
Yeah.
So the first minute, I'm bringing it to him.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, this guy's gonna fuck me up. my brother goes, this guy's gonna fuck me up. And I'm like, yeah, I am gonna fuck you up. And then like after a minute, he realized it was me, and then he turned it up. He got me.
Yeah,
he got me slipping.
That's
He got
all the
me good.
motivation he need.
Yeah, no,
Sibling rivalry.
he's flying
at
high
its
right
best.
now. He's flying really high.
Oh, nice.
Well, look, Rob, this is a great conversation. There's a lot of value that folks who are watching, can learn us ourselves as well. So I appreciate you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and join us.
Thank you for having me. This is
it's,
awesome.
it's our pleasure, and we look forward to having more conversations. And for anybody watching this, again, we're gonna post Rob's Life Aesthetics business, his consulting practice as well below, and his personal socials. If you're new to the channel, again, remember, hit the like and comment. Also share this content with everybody. You can find it on Spotify or YouTube or Instagram. We're everywhere now. So appreciate you guys, and that's all for episode 14.
Appreciate you guys.
See you on the next one.